So the Hornet Sting update has been out for about 24 hours now. I've had about 8 hours of gameplay with this new update, and I have actually noticed a lot of things and kind of just going to do my 2 cents on what I think this update's about and what I think about it, and was it a good update? I think that's a really good question to ask right now because there's been some prolific bugs with this update that I definitely think Gaijin should never happen again. But let's get on to the good stuff first. We're going to go through the positives that this update brought that I honestly think were awesome. Like these updates or these like changes in this update, I would say is probably one of the best things that Gaijin has done in a very long time, which the main one is item recycling. If you don't know what item recycling is, it's basically where you can do this. You can get a ton of boosters like I have right here by getting rid of stuff that you just don't care about. So for example, if you don't like Avenger, you can get rid of it. If you don't like Be the Best, I can just get rid of this. See, I can do 86. I can hit yes. And then I can go down here where it says my items are at, and I can just do this. And I can get coupons. I can get discounts. As you see right there, I got a 50% for the Corsair. And look at all of these boosters that I get. So I get a ton of just RP and SL boosters that you can use within your games. You can just speed grind tech trees at this point if you've been playing the game for a very long time. And all of these things down here, which I don't need anymore, I can just recycle them again to convert them into more stuff. So in my opinion, this is a really positive thing. Once again, I do want to notice this. If you do have items like this that you don't currently want to actually use, you can actually recycle them as well. So let's just say I don't want any of these guys. I can recycle them, and then it goes back into the little pool down here that you can use, and then you can actually do this. My recommendation has been like 20 to 50, depending on how much you're going to play per day. If you're going to have a very long session, I would open about 50 of these per day. If you're going to have a very short session, maybe an hour, I would honestly just open about 20 and then use your boosters throughout the day and pretty much grind up a ton of the tech trees. There's a vehicle, funny enough, within, I think it was the French one. No, I think it was the German one, actually. The German vehicle that we played today, which was the pack wagon here, we actually spaded within one game because of all the boosters that we had, which to me at least is quite crazy. So yeah, that's a very positive. 100%. I hope they don't change this. It is pretty much player friendly. If you've invested time into the game right now, you will be rewarded with this new recycling feature, which I think is overall just very awesome. Now let's talk about the vehicles themselves. So for me, at least, the Harry Hopkins is a very interesting little guy. It very much feels over tiered for what it is. It's 2.3 and it basically has no armor. I did a video on this already and it doesn't feel great. And while yes, I do enjoy this vehicle, it is probably going to sit in the hangar for an eternity now. There's not really another reason to play it after you spade it. The same thing goes with the wonderful little pack wagons for Germany and as well as France. These are the vehicles I've spaded today, by the way. These kind of feel all right. The only downside that I've noticed about this little pack wagon is that, well, the new traverse thing, like rocks and everything, it kind of struggles on. So the mobility is good, but as soon as you get to a standstill and you have to move like up a slight hill, yeah, it's bad. But also, I'd probably say the only really huge downside to this vehicle was the 18 rounds of 50mm. It kind of made this vehicle want to play more aggressively than it did want to be a scout, which is okay. I mean, it worked pretty well in that sort of role, but whenever you're using a vehicle, I would kind of prefer it to be able to play a little bit long range. But with this 50mm and the reload of it being insanely quick, basically you just will run out of ammo and you can't replenish it unless you go to a capture point. So that was pretty much the downsides of these types of vehicles, which I honestly think is not that huge of a thing, but at the same time, I did start to notice it. Another thing that I really did like is the new cannon sounds. If you've not heard them yet, please try them out. This is what War Thunder kind of used to sound like back in like 2013. Like, just imagine this, 2013, 2014, 2015. This is what the cannon sound sounded like, and it sounds just epic. It actually sounds like there's meat onto your guns now. Instead of it being just your generic cannon sound number 6, it really feels like it's handcrafted, and it really feels like it's insanely, insanely good, which I do agree this was a really good change. But for the sounds overall, we definitely will talk about that in a second. So next, we're actually going to be going to what's average about this update. And I feel like this could either be a good or a bad, which is pretty much like someone's own opinion. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the vehicles this update. For most people, I would say the vehicles were pretty all right. But for some people, if you don't enjoy top tier air, for example, this update was kind of mediocre in some ways. I mean, the only real standout vehicles was the F-18, and then you had the Su-30SM or Russia. So those were basically your two standout vehicles. For other nations, really, you didn't have much whenever it came to your aircraft. And well, some of them, like China, for example, J-11B you had, but really, did anyone care about it? Not really. So that's quite a little bit of an issue. And then also at the exact same time, that the grind for these types of vehicles is quite insane. I mean, you're getting a 12.3 here. at 400,000 RP, and then only 20,000 more RP more, and you get a 14.0, which is quite crazy. There needs to be some like RP reductions at some point, especially for top tier, man. A lot of this still doesn't make any sense of how some of this stuff costs this much, but then at the exact same time you just go up just slightly, and it's like, here you go, here's only 20k more, but you know your module cost and everything is pretty much the same as well, which is crazy. The next thing is we'll look at the Clovis here. This is another thing that was a big contentious thing, is the amount of premiums within this update. I honestly think that it's like okay. I mean, like I don't really mind there being a bunch of premiums because you're not really forced to buy them or anything, but adding them right now kind of gives them the opportunity to be on discount during the anniversary sale, which is one of the like highest amount of times that people play the game. So to me, at least, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's a good thing for it. Other than that, I mean, like, yeah, there was a ton of them. I mean, you have the Ariete, you have the Clovises that came into the game. You had a lot of squadron vehicles as well. And there's very few, I'd say, tech tree vehicles for at least ground forces this update. You had an SPA for America, but yeah, I mean, it definitely feels a little bit sad in a way that like a lot of these vehicles, like the Clovis, would have been very fun to play whenever it comes out. I already made a video on this one, and it felt very nice to play as well. The next thing that they changed that is kind of average depending on how you look at it is the shell penetration characteristics for pretty much every shell in the game. Now, it's a little bit confusing, and I've seen actually another CC that actually mixed this up. And I don't really blame him either, because this actually is very confusing. And I would honestly look at this as face value and be like, wow, this heat FS right here, or this heat shell that I have on the Clovis, only has 5 millimeters of pen at 10 degrees. Now, there's a problem with this, because this is pretty much useless. Because guess what? This is a heat munition, so you're using chemical to actually penetrate the tank. So honestly, in my opinion, I feel like they should just switch it back around to where it shows the heat penetration at the bottom instead of kinetic. I mean, sure, it's an interesting stat, I guess, for the game, but when are you ever going to need it? Like, when are you going to ever need the fact that your 105 Clovis round can pin 5 millimeters of armor with its kinetic? And it's very much confusing people, and 100% this should be changed. But if you want to know where to look, just look in the center and you'll see 400 millimeters of pen, and that will be basically your round for any of the heat munitions. But yeah, definitely agree, very confusing. But at the exact same time, it technically is correct. It's not bugged or anything. Next on the list of stuff they added the CC button, or the I have a Prince oil rig button that I have unlimited money that I could throw at the game, which is this purchase all. I've seen some people complain about this button is a little bit too easy to hit. I do agree, but at the exact same time, I'm going to show you something. You can just hit this and it does this, and you have to confirm it to actually hit yes to purchase all of the modifications. Now, there is something that I would love for them to add. There's some games that like will put up a little progress bar right here for like 2 or 3 seconds. So you have to stop and think about it, and you maybe will read this and say that you're about to spend 12,000 golden eagles to completely spade to AV8B+. And also maybe there could be like a little check mark right here where you have to select it to make sure that you really did confirm to actually buy this. Because I understand you might see this menu and it might be like, oh, well, it's just like a normal thing, because it does look like a normal thing of you unlocking a modification or something, and you might accidentally hit yes. So that's, to me at least, what they should do to it. I also don't understand it, why they added this. Like, hang on. This is going to be big brain time. Some of you may not understand what I'm about to talk about, but it's like marketing stuff, right? So a big thing with marketing is confusion. If you can confuse people and make them not really understand how much you're spending on the game, sometimes people will spend more accidentally. Now, this actually takes away the mental math that maybe you would have to use to see how much you would have to spend to completely spade this vehicle. And it puts out a legit number, which is 12,760. Now, if you go up here and you go like, well, that's over like $50. That's like $50, $60 of G that I don't have to buy now. Instead of someone just coming up here being like, oh, that's only 370. Well, I can just purchase that right now, and then I will be able to get something a little bit reliable. So I honestly don't know why they added it. I kind of feel like once their marketing team kind of realizes what they did, they might they might actually remove it, because like I said, confusion is a great tool whenever it comes to getting people to buy stuff. And yeah, just putting out a flat number where people don't have to do mental math, or they don't have to do anything like that to figure out like how much everything costs and everything, and maybe they'll buy up some of it just so they'll help themselves out. It definitely feels a little bit scuffed. And someone did point this out during the stream today. It was like, well, now I know how much money that I'm saving by just grinding out vehicles instead of actually buying modifications for them. So 100% agree. This is a very weird change, at least for the game. So next thing to talk about is the new upgraded maps. They upgraded, I believe, Advanced to Rhine. We had Jungle, and then we also had Sinai. All three of those maps got like a facelift, I guess is the best way to put it. I know some of the sight lines have changed a little bit, especially on like a map like Sinai. But at the exact same time, I think like they're pretty all right. I don't really see a huge like difference with them. Whenever I played on Advanced to Rhine today, it definitely looked like different. Like I knew where I was on the map, but the angles and stuff that I'm normally used to looking at were 100% different. I played Sinai once. I still haven't got Jungle yet, but I did visit Jungle on the dev server, and it just looks like a more upgraded version of the map itself. So honestly, you can take that as you will. Like, I feel like those maps are pretty solid. I'm very much glad I didn't take them out like White Rock Fortress, which was a amazing map that just lost the time now. So yeah, hopefully that sort of map gets a facelift too and comes back to the game at some point. All right, so finally for the game breaking stuff or that it was just bad, the F-18, the premium one, whenever it first released, is a very, 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 and I mean this sincerely, bad thing that happened to it, which was that it literally crashed your game if you fired off the AIM 7Ps. Now, this is the $80 premium. This is a vehicle that many people probably even called off work today for. They may have not went to school for. They have spent their time today playing their wonderful F-18 Premium. And what happened whenever the update released? There was a game-breaking bug of where if you shot that missile off, it crashed the game. Now, this went on for like 2 or 3 hours because I was streaming during that time and playing the game, and people would always come in there and ask me, is it crashing the game? And then finally they fixed it like within the 2 to 3 hour mark. But that was 2 to 3 hours of a completely game-breaking bug within the game, which I think honestly is just not acceptable at this point. Like, that was a vehicle that you knew for a fact, Gaijin, that people are going to spend money on. They're going to play it as soon as they jump onto the server, and I don't know how that bug slipped past. Like, it feels very weird that they didn't go test out that vehicle extensively, because that's a vehicle a lot of people were going to be buying and playing. And spending $80 on something and you getting a lemon is not really cool in my opinion. It's one of those things. It's like whenever you buy a car, right? And you're buying this car and you're over there signing the papers and everything. Like, you're about to sign your name on the dotted line of where this car is now yours, and you just randomly look out the window and there's just like a leak, like the radiator just blew up on it or something. And when they're like, well, we'll fix it for you. And it's like, you gonna give me a discount because you know that thing's kind of like messed up now? And they're like, nope, you're still gonna pay full price for it. So yeah, to me at least, that's what it kind of felt like. It felt like an issue that could be fixed, but at the exact same time, it should have not been an issue to begin with. There was also the bug with the SU-33, which was just quite funny. I don't really know how that one happened either, where the landing gear just somehow appeared on top of the vehicle. It was just, to me at least, as a laugh. We landed it upside down a couple times, which was great fun, but at the exact same time, how does that bug even happen? There was also some bugs about overheating engines for a very long time whenever it came to the update. I didn't really see that myself, but I did hear about something about the F-100 was having an issue where the engine just overheated and killed itself very quickly. So yeah, that was a huge issue as well. And it seems a lot of issues this update kind of like affected Air Forces, which is quite crazy. And then finally, the number one thing that I have kind of noticed today, but I haven't really noticed it that much, is the new traction thing for rocks. I did see some clips of it and everything. It was a bit ridiculous that you couldn't even go up like a little bitty grade or anything like that, and you were getting stuck on like side of a little bitty hill. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And I've seen one dude actually happen to today. It was a BMP. He was kind of just like driving in place, and I'm like, oh well, you kind of just outlucked, didn't you? But at the exact same time, like, I understand why they're doing it. Like, hear me out here. So some of you are gonna be like, dog, they should just like make everything to realistic and make it to where traction is real life, right? The problem with that is that it's a video game still. And do you really want people mountain goating to like just the most randomest positions ever that they found on a YouTube video and sitting up there the whole game and somehow shooting people across the map into their spawn? Like, I 100% agree. The War Thunder maps should be changed like that. But the thing is Gaijin really can't be proactive whenever you have people that are just going to be in the custom games trying to figure out every single little bitty exploit they can get into. So I think that's like a huge issue. So I understand the reason of why they're actually doing this, of where they're like, we want to like do a blanket fix of where people just can't mountain go into the most randomest positions. It just needs to be toned down, is my opinion of it. Like, I don't really want people to just randomly go outside the map boundaries and get into really overpowered positions that no one would ever know to even look up there because it's technically outside of the map. I mean, yes, they could fix it, but at the exact same time, like I said, you're going to have people that are updating this almost like weekly, just new positions they found to get out of the map. So that's why they do it. Do I agree with it? Not really, but also at the exact same time, I want the gameplay to be number one whenever it comes to this game. And then finally, my last issue that I had with this War Thunder update is sound. It seems to be broken again, but I'm going to put a little asterisk here about that. I'm not sure. I need more time with it. I've heard from other people that sound seems to be doing some funky, especially with tank engines again, but I just need some more time with it. I definitely have felt today whenever I was playing that there were times of just enemy engines randomly cutting off. Some of them would just not even like appear. And it's not like a keen vision issue. It's just like I could almost see the guys, right? It would just be issues of just sound getting overwhelmed by like aircraft coming in, artillery going off, shells going off. And it would get rid of some of the most important sounds, which are like tank engines that you could hear around the corner. So yeah, hopefully it's just a me issue, but I have a feeling, and put it in the comments if you've also like had this like symptom as well, that sound seems a little bit scuffed. But yeah, overall, this update I would probably say is a update that's a little bit mediocre in a way. Like, I don't think it's no 9 out of 10. I don't think it's no 10 out of 10. I don't think it's no 1 out of 10 either. I feel like it's like maybe a 5 out of 10. It's like average. And what's average? 5. So I'd rather say that. It's a 5 out of 10 for me. There was a lot of stuff within this update I believe that shouldn't happen. There were some positives. I feel like 2 of the points definitely came from the item recycling. It is 100% one of the best features that came there in this update, which is just great to me at least to see. So yeah, what do you guys think about this update? Make sure to put that in the comments. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. We'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video.